Hey everybody, I'm back. It's been about an hour since I started my autolyse. Here is the result. And now I'm going to add all of my inclusions step by step. The first thing I'm going to add, well, first of all, I'm just going to spread the dough out. Let me wet my hands so that the dough's not so sticky. And I'm going to wet my hands and flatten the dough out. And I'm going to add about a teaspoon and a half of pink sea salt. I'm just going to sprinkle that over the dough. And then gently press it into the dough. Incorporating all of that sea salt. This procedure has a purpose in adding the sea salt now, so as to give more flavor to the dough as opposed to adding it to the autolyse or the preparation of the autolyse. So you just want to go ahead and press all that sea salt down in there. And then I'm going to take about, let's see here, about a quarter cup of my sourdough starter. And I'm just gonna spread that out all over the top of the dough. Okay. Get all of that out and spread across the top of the dough. Okay. Oh, let's see here. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and mix that in with the dough. This is very tedious working with the hands, but you want to get all of it incorporated. All that sourdough. And the sea salt. You can tell that the dough is well hydrated. And it's not sticky as it would be if you did not do the autolyse. You see how that just pulls right up from the bowl? That's the real purpose of the autolyse. You don't have to do it, but if you like getting your hands messy and the process being more time consuming, then you don't have to do the autolyse. But it does make the preparation time less tedious. So I've done that, and I'm going to put in my dough conditioner, which it too has vitamin C, and vitamin C helps to raise the dough. Now, the dough conditioner, this is what I use. Dough conditioner. For every cup of flour, you want to use a teaspoon. So I've got 3 cups of flour, and I'm going to incorporate 3 teaspoons of conditioner. This gives added life to your bread. It produces a tighter crumb, and as stated, it makes your bread last longer and fresher. Then I'm going to add some of this as well. A teaspoon for every cup of flour. So there's 1, 2, 3. So all these dough conditioners have a purpose in helping the rise of the bread dough. Mix all that in there. And then to that, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons, or 2 tablespoons, I'm sorry, of any oil that you have. In this case, I'm doing light olive oil. Okay. And then to that, I'm going to add some maple syrup. And I'm going to add 5 tablespoons, or 1/3 of a cup, of maple syrup. For a little added sweetness. Not overly sweet though. Okay. Next thing I'm going to add is some vanilla extract. Vanilla extract. Maybe about a teaspoon. Then I'm going to add some maple. This is an emulsion. Maple emulsion. About a teaspoon of that. right, so then I've got 2 other ingredients to incorporate. And I think I'll do the oatmeal. So there's a 1/3 of a cup of oatmeal. Just sprinkle that on and just begin to blend that in. To your dough. You can use a stand mixer, but I feel like you need to get a good feel of how the dough's supposed to be in order to achieve optimal results. And finish off the rest of that oatmeal. And last but not least, I'm going with a 1/4 cup of sour cream. Yes, this is pretty fattening. But a 1/4 cup of sour cream. Just get all that yummy goodness out of there. And just mix. The purpose of the dairy is to make a softer crumb. Now at this point, you're gonna want to add another 1/2 cup of flour. So hold the line. And adding this last 1/2 cup is not going to impede the process of the autolyse. So have no fear, it's not going to impede the process. All right, 1/2 cup more of flour. So in total, there's 3½ cups of flour. It's gonna make a pretty nice sized loaf. You can use all-purpose flour, but I just choose to use bread flour. For most of my dough, just because the protein count is higher, therefore it adds more structure to your bread. And it helps it to rise even more. So there is that. Just go ahead and do some slap and folds. This is going to strengthen the gluten. You're going to do 4 sets of stretch and folds over the course of 2 hours. So every 30 minutes, you're going to slap and fold. Just take out your aggression. Just take it out. All that built up frustration, just smack it down in that bowl. Like you're just angry. Strengthening that gluten. This bread's gonna be so yummy, y'all. So yummy. And then just clean up the sides of your bowl. And go ahead and cover your dough back up and let it sit for 30 minutes before you come and do your second set of stretch and folds. So when I bring you back, I would have completed all of my stretch and folds. And then we'll move on to step number 3. So hang in there. Okay, everybody, we're back. I've let the dough sit for over 2 hours. It was my intention just to let it sit for 2 hours, but needless to say, it's set for almost 3 hours. But it's fine. It's developed a very strong gluten content, which is much easier to work with. So I'm going to shape this dough and get it in the fridge for its final fermentation. And I'm probably going to bake this bread today. So, all right. Let's start off with putting some flour in the bowl. And turning the dough over. I'm going to try to do everything inside of this bowl using my dough scraper to turn the dough over. Add some more flour. Turn the dough over. To my right, I have a clay pot that I'm going to be baking this bread in. I've got it already prepared to receive the dough, the shaped dough. So, just get in here with my hands and pat it out. It feels super nice. I'm kind of glad I went over the 2 hours to let it proof. But it's super easy to work with. So I'm just going to stretch it out. And bring the 2 sides in to a triangle. And the bottom half up. And then fold it over onto itself. A little bit more flour. And do that one more time. You want it to be the length of your pan so that it bakes up nice and even. So a little more flour. And just roll it out or stretch it out. As you can tell, there's been another addition made. During the last inclusions, and these are dehydrated blueberries. So it's an oatmeal blueberry kind of bread day. And then you want to pick your dough up. Place it in the pan. Now this is probably, I'm probably only going to proof this because this proofed a lot. But I'm only going to probably cold proof this for 3 to 4 hours before I decide to bake it off. And here you have it, ready to go through its final proofing, final fermentation, I should say, in the refrigerator. So the next time I come back to you, it will be after it's gone through its final fermentation and it's ready to go into the oven. So maybe 3 to 4 hours more of the final fermentation, and then it'll be ready to go in the oven. So I'll bring it back. I'll bring you back when I'm ready to score it and to put it in to the oven. And I'll have a nice loaf of blueberry oatmeal bread. Okay, hang in there. Okay, my people, here is the moment of truth. This bread dough is ready to go into the oven. Now, normally when I do sourdough bread, I let it ferment overnight, but because it has such a high rise, it's best to just bake it off because the lid only goes up but so high. And so for the first 25 to 30 minutes, it needs to bake with the top on. With clay pots, it's advisable that you put them into a cold oven. The contents and all put into a cold oven and let the oven and the pan warm up at the same time. It's also advisable that you soak the clay pots in water for at least half an hour. Now, I'll go 2 or 3 hours or even overnight. And the purpose for that is so that the heat does not crack the ceramic, and then too, it allows the bread to proof up even more because that moisture is going into the dough. The moisture from the water that was absorbed into the clay pot gets incorporated into the bread dough and giving it a higher rise. So this I had sitting in the refrigerator. This part wasn't soaked, but I have 2 of these, and I soaked both the top and the bottom in water for 3 or 4 hours. Anyway, here they are. Here they are, waterlogged, but nevertheless, this is how you have to do it. So I'm just going to transfer this to this pan here. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and score the top with some slashes. Actually, I think I'll just do one down the middle. This allows the bread to expand, but not to burst. So you want to go pretty deep down into it. Okay. And I will take and put the lid on and place it in the oven. I will then turn the oven on to 475 convection bake. And once it gets up to 475, then I'll begin to time it. And for the first 25 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes, you want to bake it covered. I'm also going to spritz the top of the loaf with some added water. about 20 sprays, and then cover that back up. And bake. So that the next time I come back to you, the bread would have been already baked and cooled off, and then I'll be able to slice into it. Okay? Hang in there with me. So as promised, I brought you back to see the finished product of the blueberry oatmeal sourdough loaf. And it has cooled off sufficiently enough to where I can cut into it and it won't come out gummy. So I'm just gonna slice off a piece. It's still warm. You see that? Look at that tight crumb. Oh boy, this gonna be good, y'all. So I'm gonna take some butter, spread that over the top. Melts right in because it's still warm. I'm gonna give it a taste test. It's so good, y'all. I just don't have enough blueberries, but it's so good. Let me let you listen to the crunch of the bread. It's when you know you did sourdough right. You hear that? Look at that crumb. Isn't that beautiful? Sourdough is a long, drawn out process, but it is so worth the benefits. And you know what went into it because you baked it. Beat store-bought any day of the week because there's just a few simple ingredients, and voila, you got an exquisite bread, exquisite loaf of bread. I don't taste, there's not a profound taste of oatmeal, but as you saw during the process, there is oatmeal in it. Perhaps the next time I bake it, I'll add maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons more. But it's very moist. The outer layer is very crunchy and chewy, as sourdough should be. And a moist and tender crumb. See that? So good, y'all. So good. You really gotta watch it when baking fresh bread, because if you're not careful, you eat the whole loaf without even thinking about it. It's just that good. It makes good sandwiches, good sandwich bread, French toast, you name it. The sky's the limit. Cinnamon toast. The choice is yours. At any rate, I appreciate you hanging out with me today. And if you like this video, please like, please share, please subscribe to my channel so I can grow it. I greatly appreciate it. With that said, bye-bye.